It's Tuesday, isn't it?
Hey everyone, it's Mimi and Weezus.
Hey guys, what's good?
Today, I brought my friend Lance on the podcast. We're going to talk about some special stuff.
So right off the bat, how do you guys know each other?
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. Miranda and I, we met at veterinary clinic. We started working together. Gosh, how many years ago was that, Miranda?
That was like in 2009, I think.
Was it 2009? Oh, man.
Yeah, or maybe 2010, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, so we both were like vet techs there, and we used to do like the kennel work and stuff like that, where we let the dogs out and take care of them and stuff like that. So yeah, we had a lot of adventures there. We had some good times.
Yeah, when I first started working there, I was young. I think I was 16. So I started as a kennel technician, which is all the boarding dogs that would come in. I would feed them, let them out, all that stuff. Lance actually trained me, because he was moving up to be a vet tech or a vet assistant, and I was taking his spot as like the day person for the kennels. So we went through it though. Like, it sounds easy, okay, but we found we had some interesting times. So there was this bird. This is my favorite story with Lance.
Out of everything, instead of the dogs, there was this bird.
Yeah, there's a bird.
Let me tell you about this bird. Yeah.
Yeah. So her name was Bella. I'll still not ever forget. And I think she was a sun conure, or she was something like that. She was like a little yellow and red and green bird. She honestly was a really cool bird, but she could fly. So we typically didn't do boarding for like exotics, but occasionally they would allow it. So this bird comes in, and since her wings weren't clipped, we had to put her like in the isolation wing in case she got loose, she couldn't fly away. Well, during lunch breaks, all the techs would split lunch. So like these two people would leave and then come back at 1, and then these other two people would leave. So me and Lance, we were on lunch shift together. So we're hanging out. We're like, let's go play with the bird, right? So I'm in there feeding the bird, who I bragged about the bird. I love the bird. All of a sudden, dude, Bella turned evil and attacks me.
Yeah.
Lance was on the outside of like the glass, because it was the isolation unit was so small, like only one person could really be in there. And so he's like somewhere else, and he hears me screaming. So he's like there, but he can't open the door because then the bird will escape and then we'll be real screwed. And so I'm screaming, help! And the bird's like dive bombing me and attacking me.
Dive bombing? It's not a hawk, dude.
It was. It felt like it was. And Lance is just on the other side of the glass, like, no, like goodbye. He's just saying his goodbyes to me. I was a goner.
I think we got the plastic bin off something, like the lid, and then I handed it to you through the crack so the bird wouldn't get it, and she was like swatting at the bird. Yeah.
Damn, you're come Miranda, like, hey, I heard what you did with that bird. No,
yeah, well, the bird didn't get hurt. Okay, I was more hurt than the bird.
Yeah,
to be honest. Yeah.
Emotionally, no.
Yeah, and then one of the boarding dogs passed away while me and Lance were on shift. Remember, it was like that. It was a little coyote looking one. Her name was Lady. I don't know why I remember, but it was traumatizing. So.
Yeah, she was 16.
Yeah. And then I had just started, so I called Lance. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, we were the two youngest people there too, and the bad stuff always happened to us. So I swear, then they were like, God, these two young Hispanic kids, literally every time they're here by themselves, something horrible happens. Like,
yeah.
So they blamed you guys. Of course, they're like, hey, yeah. you know, I'm not saying anything, but like ever since they showed up, a lot of animals started going haywire. No,
yeah, that's what it was like. So yeah, the feral cat.
The feral cat situation, yeah. That was another attack on you, Miranda, where you were just in that little isolation room.
In the ISO room.
Yeah, that was
Damn, it's just called the Thunderdome at that point, dude.
Was it you in there with me, or was it? I don't know if I'll say Terry. I'll bleep out her name, but was it you or her in there with me when the feral cat got away?
I can't remember who was in there with you, but I remember it was another situation where I was outside the door. I ended up going in there with you, and we were trying to get the cat back into the kennel, but like this, what was his name? Like Tormac or something?
Oh, Tomac. Yeah.
Tomac. Yeah. He was like this. He was an Afghanistan like cat, like a rescue from like
I
Afghanistan.
forgot about him.
And he was like, he like had muscles. It was like, yeah.
He had been through war, Jesus, literally, okay? And they brought him back, and he was like, he had a home, and he was nice to his owner, but he wasn't nice to us. And he used to come in for fluids because it's always the mean cats who get kidney failure for some reason. And so he would come in, and we had to give him fluids. And he was down bad this one week, and he was like barely surviving. So we had to keep him in there. And I don't remember why we were getting him out, but we had to get him out. I'd put him back in the cage, and he went ballistic. We were trying to get him back. But the crazy part was, like, in the isolation room, you know, back in the day, like how houses, they had the roof tiles, like in public places that would just slide over, and they were just like little foam pieces. We had those. And so he was trying to get up in there, and we were trying to grab him, but then he dived down at me, and I had to whack him with the box. And he was crawling up the walls and stuff, like,
He was going
insane.
full haywire, like.
He was bouncing off the walls, literally, yeah.
Literally, like, there was nothing to grip onto, and he was somehow running on the wall. I don't know. It was the craziest thing. And another one was when that Newfie pulled its IV out, and you guys told me to go check on it.
Yeah.
I was just a kid, and I wanted to be a vet tech so bad, and so they were trying to include me in everything. So they'd be like, we'll let Miranda go check on the Newfie so she, like, feels, good about herself or something. So I go, and then there was blood everywhere, and it's like a 140-pound dog, and I'm like, guys, there's blood everywhere. So I just start screaming, and then poor Lance and Allison have to run over and like take care of it, but it wasn't as traumatizing. It just pulled out its little fluid thing, so the blood was just pouring out of its arm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I came around the corner, and like, Miranda's like in this like this scene where she's just like laying with this dog, and you just see this like pool of blood, and I'm like, my eyes are going huge. I'm like,
and I'm screaming for help. And he's like, what happened? I'm like, I didn't do it. I swear.
I didn't do it. I didn't stab the dog. It wasn't me.
Yeah. Lance had left to go on to bigger and better things at one point, and like then I stayed for a while, but it just wasn't the same.
Ooh.
It wasn't the same. Yeah.
She's saying you abandoned her, Lance.
No. No.
Yeah, I did. He abandoned me there. But it's all right. I forgive you now. It only took 15 years.
It only took 15 years. We're good now.
Yeah, but we're good now, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyways, the main reason we wanted to bring you on the podcast today was to talk about your book. So this is a huge accomplishment, right? Now, basically you're famous now, so I know a published author, and now Jesus does too.
I don't know if famous is the right word, but yeah, it's definitely something I'm really proud of for my little guy here, Owen. Writing this book was something that I felt like I could leave behind to him, if anything ever happened to me. So it's something it's probably it's the thing that I'm the most proud of, especially for Owen.
Did you always want to like be an author, or did he inspire this book completely? And is it only this book, or are there more in the works?
He definitely inspired me to start this journey as far as like writing and trying to publish books and things like that. This is definitely probably going to be the first of many books that I think I'm going to publish, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely my journey with my health inspired this book. There was moments where I was like, gosh, I don't know what's going to happen, from the next day to the next. So it was like, I wanted to leave a message behind to him in case anything did happen to me.
Yeah.
He's like, I got life lessons with Lance. No,
yeah, that's literally what it is. Me and Jesus were reading the book, and it was just like so emotional and so strong. We're not used to it anymore, like everything we do is like we joke about things, and then we're realizing like, dang. And then we start making jokes, of course, like our parents like kicked us out as soon as they could, and then look how nice Lance is. We're like, I wish Lance was my dad. But it's good. And then, like you mentioned, with your journey with your health, I guess what's your diagnosis, and what were your first symptoms that you noticed, if you don't mind us asking?
No, don't mind at all. I definitely want to like shed light to my diagnosis for everybody. So my official diagnosis ended up being multiple sclerosis. I ended up having like this very rare kind, of course, right, called tumefactive multiple sclerosis. But at the beginning, it was pretty terrifying. It started with this virus that I got. Owen, he was at his school and he got sick, and you that happens all the time, right? You got toddlers, they're building their
Yeah.
immune system, things like that. Well, I ended up getting this same virus, and it just wreaked havoc on my body. The first symptoms I had was I was actually having difficulty speaking and like word finding, things like that. I still struggle with that a little bit, but it was pretty scary. I remember like just waking up with like this massive fever, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go to bed. I'm gonna try to sleep this off. The next day I was like, oh my god, my head hurt so bad. I tried like just reading an article on my phone just to like distract myself, and this is where I knew like something was really wrong. I would like look at the article and I could see the words, I could understand the words, but if I tried to say them, it just wasn't coming out. It was like oh my god, I'm comprehending this, but I can't even read this article out loud because of like what was happening. There was some damage that was happening in my brain at the time due to this, and so it just like interrupts like the signal. So anyways, long story short, that's kind of what led to me going to the doctor, getting checked out. They put me on all sorts of high dose steroids to try to get the inflammation down. They did MRIs, and that's ultimately where they found a lesion in my brain. And that's kind of where the story gets crazy as far as like how my diagnosis occurred. They initially thought I had this like condition called ADEM, and it's basically just when your body attacks itself after getting a virus like this, right? So it was like textbook. It was textbook, for that type of thing. So I was like, okay, like, am I going to recover? They said, in time, yeah, you could get some recovery, things like that. But it just never fully happened. Couple months go by. I go to my first appointment at UNM with the neurology department to get checked out. And immediately, as I go in the room, the doctor comes in and says, we need to get him admitted into the hospital as soon as possible after looking at my images. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, oh my God, I thought it was this one thing, and then all of a sudden they're telling me, hold on, we got to do more tests. So that's why they admitted me, because they were like, we need to figure what is going on. And so I get admitted to UNM for a week. They're doing more MRIs on me. A couple new lesions in my brain had popped up from the last MRI that I had taken the months prior. And I left the hospital and they were still like, I still think it's this ADEM condition. So I'm like, okay, all right, let's go with that. And they said, here's some discharge instructions. We're going to send you to a multiple sclerosis specialist because we want to just make sure, we want to rule that out because it's very similar to multiple sclerosis. So I was like, okay. So I get discharged. It was on Halloween is when I got discharged. And I go and make this appointment with the MS specialist. And they're like, I don't think it's this ADEM. I think you either have this rare type of brain cancer, which was called primary central nervous system lymphoma. So that when they told me that, I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, what the heck is going on? I'm being told like it's this virus that causes damage, and all of a sudden it's like this certain kind of rare cancer, and then they're like, but it could also be multiple sclerosis. The only way we can find out is if we do spinal tap. So this would be my second spinal tap at this point, where they basically stick a needle into your back to get spinal fluid, that sort of thing, to see what's going on. Because the first sample they didn't do the right test, so this was the second time I had to do this procedure, right? So I get the second spinal tap. And during this process, I'm just a nervous wreck because the doctor's telling me, right, if we don't get any results from the spinal tap, the next step for me, they wanted to do a brain biopsy to like see if it was. Yeah. So I'm like thinking, okay, if nothing's coming back from this spinal tap, I'm gonna be going in for a brain biopsy. So that freaked me out. But the spinal tap ended up yielding results. There's this special protein with multiple sclerosis called oligoclonal bands. I'm probably butchering that. But anyways, that's the protein that they find in your spinal fluid, and I had 2 of those that came up. So they were like, okay, we're going to go with the multiple sclerosis diagnosis. And from there, I went and got second opinions at the Mayo Clinic. They agreed with that. So it's kind of where I'm at today is with the multiple sclerosis diagnosis. My symptoms just presented very oddly. I mean, for multiple sclerosis, the lesions are a little bit smaller. This one, mine was like on the MRI, it almost looked like the size of a quarter.
Dang.
So it was a pretty aggressive first attack for a multiple sclerosis attack. So yeah, that's kind of the background medically of kind of what has transpired.
I didn't realize that brain lesions were a part of MS. I guess I know it like affects the brain and spine and stuff like that. I just didn't know how, I guess. So I didn't know that was part of it. That's scary. Then like if you get viruses and stuff like that, it can like flare up like an attack like that every time, or?
It's not guaranteed every time, but you're definitely I'm more at risk like if I do get like viruses and things like that, because it just activates the immune system. And what multiple sclerosis really is it's your own immune system attacking. It's called the myelin sheath coating around your nerves. So our nerves are kind of like an electrical cord, right? So like you have like the wire, and then around that wire is that protective coating. In multiple sclerosis, your immune system attacks that protective coating around the wire. So it disrupts like the nerve signals that your brain is sending to your body, because it's attacking your own body, essentially, is what's happening. Your immune system is just like in overload mode, and it doesn't know like what to attack, what not to attack. So it's going after your own healthy tissue, and that's what causes the lesions. It's the scarring from attacking that protective coating around the nerve. If that makes any sense, if I'm explaining that, I'm probably not.
That's like the best way I've ever heard someone explain it too, because like I mean you can look it up on the internet, but it's hard to, if you're not well versed in like medical terminology and stuff like that, it's hard to understand what they're saying when you look it up online. So that was really easy for everyone to understand, and that's crazy.
It's just like I was understanding, so it makes sense.
If Jesus understood.
So like Lance, with you getting sick and stuff, do you have to take like medications? Did you have to change your diet and stuff? Like what happened there?
Yeah, no, definitely yes to both. So as far as medication, what they put you on for multiple sclerosis is like immune suppressants type medications. There's a ton of them. There's like 15 or more options that you can choose, but basically all the medications are designed to either suppress your immune system or to modulate it to where your immune system is hopefully not attacking your healthy tissues. Now, none of them are 100% effective. Like that's the problem with multiple sclerosis, and that's like kind of where the research is going, is to try to figure out like how do we eliminate these attacks, because right now all the medications they slow them down, they slow down the frequencies of the attacks, but none of them officially kind of remove them. So there's a bunch of different ones. The one I'm on kind of modulates the immune response to where hopefully it doesn't attack your brain, or it does it less often. So that's the medication I'm on right now. And then as far as diet, so what they recommend for multiple sclerosis is like an anti-inflammatory diet. So just trying to keep the inflammation in your body down. That way, if you do get an attack or if you do have a flare up, hopefully it's not as bad. Just trying to keep that overall inflammation in your body down so you feel overall healthy. So
as far as coping with your diagnosis afterwards, what did religion play a role in helping you get there? What was your biggest thing there? I know that's got to be hard.
Oh yeah. Definitely faith has been a huge coping mechanism for me. Honestly, Owen has been a huge support system and my motivator through all this. There was a quote I remember, like when I was in the hospital bed, that really like resonated with me. It was, faith isn't about the what ifs. Faith is about the even ifs. And that really hit me hard. It was like, man, even if this happens to me, right? Even if I can't walk, or I can't talk, or I can't do the things that I want to do, I'm still going to try, right? I have to for Owen. And it's hard. I'm not going to lie. Like there's days where, you just feel defeated and you're like, oh, how am I going to do this? Like laying in the hospital bed, I'd be like, how am I going to raise Owen? Like, how am I going to be the man I want to be for him? You know, because you like when you become a dad, you have like all these goals and aspirations to do things with your kid, to teach them. And, you know, my mind started racing towards like, okay, am I going to be able to, you know, teach my kid how to ride a bike, you know, stuff like that. So faith has definitely played a huge role in my life. And I do believe that that's going to help me in the end. And that I'll come out of this stronger. However, I end up physically, I know that I'll be there for Owen no matter what. And that may look differently than I initially anticipated. But I'm going to try. I'm always going to try.
That's good. That's deep. Like,
you could tell he has that indomitable human spirit, dude.
Yeah, I told you, I told him before, I said, Lance is literally, I'm telling you right now, he's the nicest person you're ever going to meet. That's what I told him. I was like, so be ready. As far as your social life goes and stuff, do you think that this diagnosis has made an impact on that?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's amazing when you go through a diagnosis like this, and like I've had family and friends just step up so much, and just loved ones in general, that, you know, just being there motivating me. You know, you hear a lot of times, you know, diagnoses like this can alter one's life, and it definitely does. I'm not going to lie about that, but it also shows you just how strong your friendships are, how strong your relationships are. You know, I have friends that, you know, came and visited me in the hospital, family, of course, loved ones. And that meant the world to me, you know, just to know that like, hey, people care, and that's huge. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. And back to the book a little, as far as publishing the book. So Owen inspired you so much, and I'm glad I got to meet him today and see him in the background having fun. How do you even publish a book, I guess? Like once you wrote it, how did you draw the pictures in there and everything, or?
Oh no, that's a really good question, right? So like I had the same question. So I initially started off. I wrote the book in a journal. I hand wrote it. This all started probably around January or February, if I remember correctly. And this was like around the time like my diagnosis was still kind of like up in the air, and I was like, okay, like if it was this rare type of brain cancer, like the prognosis on that was like 2 years, and so that was like freaking me out. Like, okay, I gotta start this process, right, to leave something behind. So I started off with you know, writing in a journal. And then I YouTubed a lot of videos on how to self-publish a book. So that's kind of where I started. I used this application. It's called Canva.
That's what we use.
You guys use Canva? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just like, you gotta, you know, make sure that you size the pages correctly and things like that. And then I had a friend at work that she really advocated. She's like, oh yeah, try Amazon self-publishing. And see if you can go that route and publish your book. So I researched that process. It's pretty simple, honestly. Like you just create your files in Canva or similar software, and you just upload it into Amazon. They will either accept it or reject it for publishing, depending on several factors. But that's what I did. And as far as like the artwork and things like that, hey buddy. I started off with trying to do my own doodles and things like that. I'm not very artistic. So,
Me either.
I was like, okay, if I'm going to leave something behind for Owen, right, I want the pictures to look good. So I also use Canva. So there's a feature in there that it kind of uses like clip art and things like that to help you generate images. It's almost like AI.
Yeah.
But I went with like a silhouette type of approach because it was kind of simple, but yet it was still expressing kind of what I wanted to in this book.
He was like, I didn't have Chat GPT at the time, so that's why I didn't use it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Chat GPT. Yeah, so when you publish a book on Amazon, you have to like, there's all these like criteria on there. It's like, did you use like AI to generate the text or whatever? Because it like flags the book, right? If you did something like that. So yeah, I think people do, but for a book like this one came from the heart. I was like, no, absolutely not.
Jeff
That's
Bezos
awesome.
read it, dude. He was like, we gotta let him do it. No, I just get
Gotta let him put this one out. How do you get to see like how many copies you've sold and stuff, or do you have to? Do they make it there at Amazon? You just like upload it and then they print it, or do you print it, or?
Yeah, so how it works is basically you upload it to Amazon. They take like a certain percentage out of every sale. So right, like it's you get like a small percentage, right? But that's not why I did this, right? I wasn't trying to make a profit with this book, but that's kind of how the process works. Is they take a pretty significant royalty out from every sale that you make, because they do the printing. So anytime somebody makes an order, they print it and ship it and all that good stuff. You basically just create the files and they kind of do the distribution for you, which is nice.
So do you have there's no books available locally? You have to order it on Amazon right now?
Right now, so I could, what I'm thinking about doing, there's a couple local bookstores, and I may kind of just see if I can put a couple copies in their stores. But you can get like author copies through Amazon, which you basically just get it at print cost instead of the markup. And so you can, go to book fairs and things like that with those. So I've thought about doing that.
You have to.
Yeah, of course.
Life has been crazy. Yeah.
You got to do like a book signing. You're famous now. You're a famous author technically because you've published a book. So this is your first official interview as a famous author. So don't forget us.
I'm honored. I'm honored.
So do you want to read the book for us?
I do. Let's do it. This is.
I know. Now we're all gonna cry. We'll make this the last part because it's about to get real intense. Whew. Okay.
Right.
See everything. Everyone thinks they're tough until they read Lance's book.
They hear Lance's book, or read it.
All right. We're gonna go for it. So here's the book.
Okay.
Carry Me Dad.
We didn't even say the name of it. It is Carry Me Dad by Lance Fresquez is the name of the book.
And he's all over Amazon.
Yeah.
All right, gosh. All right. This is always tough. All right. Carry me, Dad. Keep me safe from the storm. You have believed in me since I was born. When the mountain seems too steep to climb, hold my hand and carry me, Dad. Through mountains and valleys, carry me, Dad. Through the aspen groves, hillsides, and meadows of cloves, carry me, Dad. When there's not enough light to illuminate the way, you'll be my guide that will always be by my side to carry me, Dad. Carry me, Dad, on the trail and off the beaten path. As I grow, my love for you grows stronger. Don't stop believing in this journey. With you, I feel like I can climb any mountain and traverse any trail. Without fail, you'll be there to carry me, Dad. In my biggest moments, carry me, Dad. When my nerves feel like an earthquake building up inside, you remind me that the nerves just mean we're alive. You'll be through it all to carry me, Dad. When waves come crashing in, I know you'll be there to teach me to swim and to carry me, Dad. One day I'll be bigger and harder to carry. Please remember all the times you have carried me, Dad. Son, I wish I could carry you forever. As my body gets older and more tired, please remember I will always carry the memories of all our adventures together. Sorry. Through mountains and valleys, hillsides, aspen groves, and meadows of cloves, you always had my back. When the trail seemed too dark, son, you were right there with me, providing the light from the start. As we veered off the trail into the wild, you reminded me how beautiful it is to take the path less traveled. Every tear you shed, every time you were scared, I felt every emotion and I wish I could carry it on my shoulders. When the waves came crashing in, you were my life jacket reminding me to swim. As I grow older, my love for you grows stronger. You have kept me believing in this journey. Because of you, I was able to climb any mountain. You kept me strong, and one day, son, you will realize you were the one carrying me all along. I love you with every ounce of my being. Even one day when I'm not physically here, I will still be watching over you with a smile as you carry on. I'll be waiting for the day I can once again carry you, son.
Dang.
It's such a nice message, Lance.
It is. Owen had to come in right in the middle of it and make it even more intense. If you guys could have seen him reading it, I'm like, oh God, no. Oh, don't do this to me, Lance.
It's yeah, it's
That is such a good book. We are gonna put the link for it on our link tree so that if you do want to buy it after listening to the episode, you can just go into our little thing, click the link, and order it. It's $10 on Amazon. It should be. But thank you for coming on and doing that. I know it wasn't easy to come on and talk about that stuff and read the book for everybody, but everyone's gonna love it.
We appreciate your time, dude.
I know. Thank you guys. Thanks for having me on. And I guess like kind of the last thing I would say is like when all this started with me, I couldn't even like I had a moment where I was looking at one of Owen's children's book trying to read it to him when I was having difficulties with my words and reading and things like that. And then I went from that to actually writing a book. And I just want to encourage people like if you're going through stuff, like just keep going. Like you don't know what's going to happen the next day, but as long as you put your best foot forward, good things will happen ultimately in the end. So just want to encourage everybody out there that's dealing with something, because we all have problems, right? We all have difficulties in life. So just keep going.
Thank you, Lance. I'm going to cry as soon as we get done.
Everybody gonna be in the feelings tonight.
Yeehaw, brother.